Hi, folks. This is Empowering Democracy number 22. And the title of our topic is Dead to Rights. So, to see what that means, we are going to go to a very interesting piece. I'll share the screen for it now. By the way, I'm Joe Firestone, your host. If you like what I have to say and you like this video, then please go to my Patreon account and consider making a donation. Or you can also go to my Buy Me a Coffee account as well, which is right now at the bottom of the screen. So I am sharing right now. And this is an article from Common Dreams. It's not called Dead to Rights. It's called Judge Signals Trump Knowingly Signed Court Doc with False Election Fraud Claims. And this one from Common Dreams is by Jessica Corbett. And she did this on October 20th, 2022, which of course was yesterday. And she indicated on Wednesday, I'm sorry, not she, but the federal judge, David Carter, indicated on Wednesday that former United States President Donald Trump signed a legal document containing voter fraud claims about the 2020 presidential election that he knew were false. That's the basic idea. That revelation came in U.S. District Judge David Carter's ruling that ordered ex-Trump lawyer John Eastman, considered the architect of the plot to overturn the election, to share some emails with the House Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Critics of the twice impeached former president, twice impeached, but none convicted, not convicted, just impeached. Critics of that president argue his big lie that the election was rigged by Democrats provoked the 2021 attack, which is tied to at least 7 deaths, and briefly delayed the certification of the results of the presidential election. As the new ruling highlights, Trump's bid to hold on to power despite losing re-election also featured legal battles over the outcomes in specific swing states. 4 emails demonstrated an effort by Donald Trump and his attorneys to press false claims in federal court for the purpose of delaying the January 6th vote, wrote Carter, a California-based judge appointed by former President Bill Clinton. The evidence confirms that this effort was undertaken in at least one lawsuit filed in Georgia. Trump and his legal team claimed to a Georgia state court on December 4, 2020, that Fulton County improperly counted votes from 10,315 deceased people, 2,560 felons, and 2,423 unregistered voters. The battle then moved to federal court. Noah Bookbinder, tweets about this. Federal judge today found that Donald Trump likely signed the court document attesting to purported voter fraud data that he by then knew to be wrong. That appears to be the latest crime Trump is credibly alleged to have committed. The list keeps on growing. On December 3rd, 2020, Dr. Eastman relayed concern from Trump's team about including specific numbers in the paragraph dealing with felons, deceased, moved, etc. The attorneys continue to discuss the president's resistance to signing when specific numbers were included. According to the judge, Eastman wrote in an email on December 31st, 2020, although the president signed a verification for the state court filing back on December 1st, he has since been made aware that some of the allegations and evidence preferred by the experts has been inaccurate. For him to sign a new verification with that knowledge and incorporation by reference would not be accurate, unquote. Carter noted that quote, President Trump and his attorneys ultimately filed the complaint with the same inaccurate numbers without rectifying, clarifying, or otherwise changing them. President Trump, moreover, signed a verification swearing under oath that the incorporated inaccurate numbers are true and correct, or believed to be true and correct to the best of his knowledge and belief, unquote. Quote again, the emails show that President Trump knew the specific numbers of voter fraud were wrong, but continued to tout those numbers both in court and to the public, the judge continued. Quote again, the court finds that these emails are sufficiently related to and in furtherance of a conspiracy to defraud the United States, unquote. As the New York Times reported on Wednesday, the episode was the latest example of how Mr. Trump was repeatedly told that his claims of widespread voter fraud were false and often pressed forward with them anyway. His attorney at the time, William P. Barr, informed him at least 3 times that his accusations about fraud were unfounded, as did other top officials at the Justice Department, the White House counsel's office, and the Trump campaign. Judge Carter's ruling, this is a long quote from the New York Times, came as part of a federal lawsuit Mr. Eastman filed at the beginning of the year, seeking to bar the committee from obtaining his emails as part of its inquiry into Mr. Trump's effort to overturn the election. Carter previously ruled in March that, quote, it more likely than not that President Trump corruptly attempted to obstruct the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021, and that he, Eastman, and quote, and several others entered into an agreement to defraud the United States by interfering with the election certification process. The latest development comes on the heels of what could be the Select Committee's final hearing. Its only 2 Republicans are not returning to Congress next year, and the panel's work could be discontinued if the GOP wins control of the House during the November midterms, which, of course, they are currently heavily favored to do. While the panel members last week voted unanimously to subpoena Trump, which elicited a rambling, quote-unquote, response from the ex-president, New York University School of Law professor Ryan Goodman said that, quote, I think they were trying to hand the Justice Department all the evidence on a silver platter, unquote. Trump's legal problems aren't limited to the January 6th attack and his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Along with a New York State suit related to the Trump Organization, federal agents in August executed a search warrant on Mar-a-Lago, his Florida state. Since then, there have been fights in court over the seized materials, including documents marked classified. And Citizens for Ethics, otherwise known as CREW, tweeted, if the evidence is there for obstruction charges, Trump should be indicted. In fact, there's a long list of crimes he should be indicted for. There's Mr. Trump. And there's an article from Bloomberg. Trump prosecutors see evidence for obstruction charges. Bloomberg reported Wednesday that a group of Justice Department prosecutors believe there's sufficient evidence to charge Donald Trump with obstruction of justice, but the path to an actual indictment is far from clear. Quote again, the team that's part of the classified records probe has not yet made a formal recommendation to Attorney General Merrick Garland, who would ultimately approve or reject such a move. The report noted, with unnamed sources, warning that a decision would likely come after the midterms and potentially even after Christmas. And I gotta say, I wonder what that's about. I wonder why that's going to take so long. Are they delaying it to such an extent that before that's over, there'll be a victory for the Republicans in this forthcoming election? And maybe even enough delay and obfuscation that Trump will be the president again and it won't be possible to indict him? I mean, what the hell is going on? The Justice Department declined to comment, according to the outlet. Yeah, of course it declines to comment. The wheels of justice grind slowly but exceedingly fine. Isn't that the saying? Well, fine is fine. But if the prosecution gets thrown out, fine doesn't do any good. There needs to be the indictment. It needs to come now. It should come this week. If you think there's enough evidence, what's the difficulty in putting documents together? I mean, all this has been coming up for ages and ages and ages. Their taking so long isn't helping the situation. Well, that's it for this short stream. It's a recent record for me, only a 15-minute stream. Let me say hello. There's Beamworthy, who says, Joe, I'm sorry, Beamworthy, but I think, let me go back to the beginning. People saying hello. Kay says, hello, everyone on Facebook. And Kay says, hi, Joe, Steve, and Dolores. Hi, Steve. Hi, Dolores. Thanks, Dolores, as always. Steve says, prosecute Hunter. Hi, Kay and Dolores. I say prosecute Hunter too. But that can wait until after the election. Steve says, free Assange. Absolutely free Assange. Free Assange tomorrow. Stop the prosecution of Julian Assange. Kay says, shared on Facebook. I almost thought that Kay said shared on FBI. And Beamworthy says, yeah, interesting. You seem partisan. Or, well, Beamworthy, here's where I stand. Okay, I don't care for the Republicans right now because any objective observer looking at the Republicans knows that they are currently a fascist party. That's all there is to it. Now, I don't particularly care for the Democrats either because any objective observer who's looking at the Democrats knows that they're an inverted totalitarian party. Now, between an inverted totalitarian party and an openly fascist party, I'm afraid I'd rather live under the inverted totalitarian party. It's a little more comfortable. I don't want to take my chances on having a party that sends the secret police after you. Now, to say something about the two parties as of right now, while one may be an openly fascist party, it has not gone to a shooting war as well as an economic war against the Russians, because the Russians try to defend themselves against hostile encirclement of alliances. Uh, I'm one of those who thinks the war began in 2014 and not in February of 2022. Beamworthy says, I know you are. I still think you're probably coming from a good place. I like your politics. I just dumped the Democratic Party. Well, Beamworthy, I dump. The people I dump are people who are taking big money. I want to elect only people who are not taking big money. I've expressed already the extent to which I concentrate on party. I think the Republican Party is openly fascist, and I think every member of Congress who's a Republican is taking big money. So, for that reason, yes, I seem like I'm a bit more favorable to the Democratic Party. But I absolutely condemn its leadership for supporting the Ukraine war and for supporting the idea of a unipolar world with the U.S. being the hegemon. Any realistic assessment of power relations in the world right now, real power relations, know that the real power relations fit a multipolar world, not a unipolar world. We as a nation have to adapt to that and stop fighting against it. We are hurting most of the other nations of the world because we won't accept that we're one power among many. Anyway, that's the way I feel about that. Beamworthy says, Dem exit? No. Donor exit. It shouldn't be Dem exit. It should be donor exit. Taking the donor money needs to become toxic. We need to make it toxic. Why? Because it's already toxic to the people. We need to make it toxic to the candidates. Okay, I'm out. I'll be back soon with another relatively short piece. Then I'll be back still later. And finally, I'll be back at 5 o'clock and maybe at 9 o'clock tonight, too. So you get a lot of what's going on. But what you're covering here is blatant corruption There is a like parallel with the Democrats being as scandalous with suppression of leaks. I totally agree with your characterization of the U.S. Well, I can't cover everything in one short stream, can I, Beamworthy? So come back for other streams, and I will certainly, I'll be certainly covering the corruption in the Democratic Party. I cover that all the time. Ask the other folks here. Ukraine wants, if it knows itself truly, to stop having its nation be the theater of war for two courting hegemonies. Well, not sure what you mean by two courting hegemonies. I don't think the Russians are aiming for a unipolar system with themselves at the hegemon. They're looking at a multipolar system right now. They're adjusting to the multipolar system. We are not. Beamworthy says, I totally am a proponent of peace as well. Beamworthy says, okay, deal. Thank you, Beamworthy. I'm going to end things right now. Thanks.